I love Christmas movies, and revisiting favorites from years past is part of the season I always look forward to. Good holiday films maintain a certain degree of relevance that many films do not. People annually revisit their most beloved Christmas classics because they've become a staple of the season. For many, Christmas time feels incomplete without having watched their favorite Christmas flick. Bad holiday films, however, they live on in a much less positive infamy. Take, for example, Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas, which has been listed by many to be the worst Christmas film of all time, with overwhelmingly negative reviews online and, most notably, a whopping 0% from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes. But is it really as bad as they say? Yes, it is. Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas is by far one of the worst films I have ever seen. In fact, calling it a film is too generous. If anything, it's a sermon. You see, Kirk Cameron is a washed-up child star turned evangelist, so not only is this a Christian movie, but the majority of the film consists of long-winded explanations of how Christianity correlates to the holiday we celebrate today. I want to make it very clear, I have nothing against Christians. I may not believe in Christianity. I think maybe I believe in like a different God. But even if I was Christian, I can still assure you that I'd probably think this movie is shit. The film starts with Kirk Cameron sitting in front of a fireplace, speaking directly to the audience about how much he loves the holidays.
I love the music, I love the carols and the hymns, I love all the kids.
This quickly devolves into a rant about how there's a certain group of people telling Christians they shouldn't celebrate Christmas so loudly, the provably false War on Christmas narrative, as well as people on the inside saying everything about Christmas is wrong, Christians who dislike the commercialization of the holiday. Then after some ominous footage of some cool-looking guy, who we later find out is Santa Claus walking around, with drawn-out narration from Kirk, there's a brief animated title sequence, which is probably the best part of the film, and then the movie finally starts. Kirk is at his sister's annual Christmas party, having a good time, being the silly little goober he is, until he hears that his brother-in-law, Christian, just isn't that into Christmas this year. This is followed by an awkward scene where Christian is staring at Christmas ornaments while Kirk narrates about how some people hate Christmas. A co-worker of Christian's shows up and rambles on about how Crazy Shirt Fridays is being taken away from them at work.
No more Crazy Shirt Fridays.
Oh crap, really? A conversation that neither Christian nor the audience is interested in. Eventually Christian leaves the party and Kirk follows him to his car, where Christian reveals his disdain for what Christmas has become, and how it has nothing to do with Christianity. Kirk then lectures him about how wrong he is. We eventually cut to a snow globe with a nativity scene, and then a cave with an incoherent voiceover of Kirk explaining the significance of the cloth baby Jesus was wrapped in. Although the sermon he delivered seemed almost completely unrelated to the qualms Christian voiced earlier, he suddenly starts to agree with Kirk. Then, in the most pointless scene in the film, the coworker from earlier once again brings up the removal of Crazy Shirt Friday. Only this time, the person he tells this to starts going on about the war on Christmas, among other theories, saying he saw it on Fox News, so it must be true. I find this scene incredibly confusing for a number of reasons. Firstly, it's framed as if they're making fun of the character who believes in the war on Christmas, despite Kirk alluding to it in the very opening of the film. Secondly, they seem to take a jab at Fox News, a channel that Kirk Cameron has appeared on multiple times throughout the years, and I would assume is mostly aligned with his values and beliefs. And lastly, this never comes up again throughout the movie. It doesn't develop the plot or help progress the story in any way. You could say this scene was purely for comic relief, but you see, that would imply it's funny, which it isn't. Back in the car, Christian starts ranting about how Christmas trees aren't in the Bible and how Jesus wasn't born in December. Whenever it cuts to what Kirk's describing, the shots look actually decent. But then when they cut back to Kirk and Christian talking in the car, it's just like they only got coverage for two angles, like it just cuts back and forth, and that's all they have. Kirk delivers another sermon, this time about how God made trees with lights and decorations on them aren't from paganism but from Christianity, and also Jesus was put to death on a tree, I guess. Sure, Christmas trees aren't in the Bible, but there's other trees and, there's wood. By the same stretch in logic, you could link just about anything to Christianity. You see in Genesis, when there's a flood, Noah has to get 2 of each kind of animal to bring aboard his boat. And it's 2 of each kind of animal because they gotta reproduce. And so, I guess basically the point I'm getting at is, furry porn. It's like kind of endorsed by the Bible in a way. Like if you think about it long enough. This is like Family Guy if they replaced their cutaway gags with like blatant Christian propaganda. And they also went on for significantly longer. Christian calms down momentarily, buying Kirk's piss-poor explanation, only to then go on about how Santa wasn't in the Bible and how Santa is an anagram for Satan. Ooh. Kirk then tells a story about how the real Saint Nicholas was a devout Christian that fought for the truth by beating the fuck out of some guy for saying Jesus was a normal dude and not the Son of God. After this, Christian is convinced, for some reason, and decides to head back inside to apologize for being wrong. Kirk's narration continues to blabber on for what feels like an eternity, and Christian apologizes to his wife.
I mean, if you were writing this story right now, what would you want to have happen?
I'd want it to end. And right as things seem to be wrapping up, they have a dance number. Then Kirk narrates over Christmas dinner and talks about why materialism is good, actually. And at long last, the film ends. So, just how bad was Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas? Well, I have to say, it wasn't what I was expecting. My expectations were very low to begin with, but wow, I didn't think this was possible. If I was wanting to listen to a sermon, I would have just went to church instead. And sure, maybe Christian didn't need to be a Debbie Downer, but the conclusion of consumerism good actually just isn't a compelling ending. Kirk portrays himself as if he's some hero saving his brother-in-law, but by the end of the film, you kind of just hate him. He spends the whole film defending the relevance of Christianity to the way people celebrate Christmas. That's just fine, but to act like corporations cashing in on the season isn't a major component of the holiday. It's like saying Kirk Cameron's career progression isn't extremely depressing. Well, sure, that was bad, but you know what? It's Christmas time. You can't stay sad. I mean, sure, income inequality is at an all-time high, the planet is dying, and things just seem hopeless. But hey, you know, it's, at least we got eggnog.
The snowman came to life. That would be creepy. Creepy. Santa Claus looking at him. That would be creepy.